Welcome back with another exciting video. Enjoy watching and don't forget to like and leave a comment.
What if one of the greatest mysteries in American history was hidden in plain sight for centuries? What if an ancient object discovered deep beneath the soil of the United States challenged everything people thought they knew about the past? And what if the truth behind this discovery revealed a terrifying lesson about greed, deception, and the human desire to believe the impossible? Stay with this story until the end, because every detail is based on one of the strangest real events ever recorded in America. In the autumn of 1869, in the quiet farming community of Cardiff, New York, a discovery shocked the entire United States. What began as an ordinary day on a rural farm quickly transformed into a mystery that attracted scientists, religious leaders, journalists, and thousands of curious visitors from across the country. The farm belonged to a man named William Newell. On October 16th, two laborers were digging a well on his property when their shovels struck something hard beneath the earth. At first, they assumed it was a large rock, but as they continued digging, they uncovered what appeared to be a massive human foot carved from stone. The workers were stunned. Excitement spread quickly. Neighbors gathered around the excavation site. As more soil was removed, an enormous stone figure emerged from the ground. It measured more than 10 feet long and resembled a giant human being lying on its back. The figure had detailed facial features, visible muscles, and realistic proportions. It looked ancient, weathered, and incredibly mysterious. News traveled fast through nearby towns. Within days, hundreds of people arrived to witness the strange discovery. Some visitors believed they were looking at the remains of a giant human being from prehistoric times. Others thought it was evidence supporting ancient stories found in religious texts describing giants who once walked the earth. The excitement grew into a national sensation. America in the 1860s was a country fascinated by science, archaeology, religion, and unexplained mysteries. Newspapers competed for published dramatic headlines. Reporters described the giant as one of the most important discoveries in history. Religious leaders argued that the statue proved ancient biblical accounts were true. Curious citizens paid money for the opportunity to view the giant with their own eyes. William Newell quickly realized the discovery could be profitable. He erected a tent over the site and began charging visitors 50 cents each to see the giant. The crowds became so large that the price was later doubled. Despite the increase, people continued arriving by the thousands. Many visitors traveled long distances by train and horse-drawn carriage. Families waited in line for hours. Some believed they were witnessing proof of an ancient civilization. Others expected scientists to reveal secrets about humanity's forgotten past. The giant became known as the Cardiff Giant. Experts soon arrived to examine the mysterious figure. Some geologists immediately expressed skepticism. They pointed out that the giant appeared to be carved rather than naturally formed. Others argued that its features were too detailed and too well preserved to be an ancient human fossil. Yet not everyone agreed. Several respected individuals publicly supported the idea that the giant was authentic. Debates erupted across the nation. Newspapers published conflicting opinions. Citizens argued in homes, churches, and public gatherings. Was the Cardiff Giant a genuine relic from a forgotten age, or was it something else entirely? As investigators searched for answers, strange clues began to emerge. The giant had been buried only a few feet underground. If it truly was ancient, why had it remained so close to the surface? Some experts noticed tool marks on its body. Others observed signs suggesting artificial aging. Meanwhile, public fascination only intensified. Speculation became increasingly wild. Stories circulated claiming ancient giants once lived throughout North America. Some theorists suggested lost civilizations possessed knowledge that modern people had forgotten. Others claimed the giant was evidence of supernatural events from centuries past. Few people suspected the shocking truth. Behind the scenes, the entire mystery had been carefully planned by a man named George Hall. Hall was a cigar manufacturer and businessman with a reputation for stubbornness and skepticism. Years earlier, he had become involved in a heated argument with a religious preacher about biblical giants. The debate left a lasting impression on him. Hall became fascinated by how easily people accepted extraordinary claims without sufficient evidence. He decided to conduct an experiment. But this would not be an ordinary prank. Hall invested thousands of dollars, an enormous sum at the time, to create what would become one of the most famous hoaxes in American history. He traveled to Iowa and purchased a massive block of gypsum weighing several tons. To avoid suspicion, he told suppliers the stone was intended for a monument. The gigantic block was secretly transported to Chicago. There, Hall hired skilled stoneworkers to carve the figure of a giant human man. The workers were given vague instructions and were not informed of the true purpose behind the project. Over several months, they carefully shaped the stone into a realistic human form. Hall wanted the giant to appear ancient. To achieve this, the surface was treated with acids, hammered with needles, and artificially aged. Every detail was designed to create the illusion of great age. Even the pores of the skin were imitated. When the carving was complete, the giant was transported hundreds of miles to New York under cover of secret. Late at night, Hall and his associates buried the statue on William Newell's farm. Then they waited. For nearly a year, the giant remained hidden underground. Eventually, the planned excavation occurred exactly as intended. Workers digging a well discovered the mysterious figure, and the deception began spreading across America. The public reaction exceeded Hull's expectations. Thousands believed the giant was real. Scientists argued. Newspapers competed for exclusive stories. Businessmen sought opportunities to profit. The Cardiff Giant became one of the most talked about attractions in the nation. Even famous showman and entrepreneur P.T. Barnum became interested in the phenomenon. Barnum offered a large amount of money to purchase the giant, but the owners refused. Not willing to miss the opportunity, Barnum created his own replica and displayed it as the genuine giant. Ironically, visitors then argued about which giant was the real giant, even though both were man-made creations. The situation became increasingly absurd. People paid money to see copies of a fake object that many still believed was authentic. Eventually, investigators uncovered evidence linking George Hall to the project. Witnesses came forward, financial records were examined, the secret transportation of the gypsum block was traced. The stoneworkers who helped create the giant revealed their involvement. The truth finally emerged. The Cardiff Giant was not an ancient human. It was not a fossil. It was not evidence of biblical giants. It was one of the most elaborate hoaxes ever carried out in American history. Many people felt embarrassed. Others were angry. Some refused to accept the explanation and continued believing the giant was genuine despite overwhelming evidence. Yet the story did not disappear. Instead, it became a powerful lesson about human nature. The Cardiff Giant demonstrated how easily people can be influenced when a story aligns with their beliefs, hopes, or fears. Intelligent individuals, respected experts, and ordinary citizens alike became convinced by something that was carefully designed to appear authentic. The event occurred more than 150 years ago, but its lesson remains remarkably relevant today. Modern technology allows information to spread faster than ever before. Rumors, conspiracy theories, manipulated images, and misleading claims can travel across the world within minutes. Just as newspapers fueled excitement surrounding the Cardiff Giant, social media can amplify modern mysteries before facts are verified. The Giant reminds us that extraordinary claims require careful examination. It teaches the importance of evidence. It encourages skepticism without cynicism. Most importantly, it demonstrates that the desire to believe can sometimes be stronger than the desire to know the truth. Today, the original Cardiff Giant still exists and remains one of America's most famous historical curiosities. Visitors continue to see the enormous stone figure and learn about the incredible deception that fooled a nation. What makes the story truly fascinating is not merely the giant itself, but the psychological mystery surrounding it. The real question was never whether giants once walked the earth. The real mystery was why so many people wanted the story to be true. That question continues to challenge humanity today. Every generation encounters its own Cardiff Giant, an unbelievable claim, a sensational discovery, or a shocking story that captures public imagination. Some turn out to be genuine, others collapse under scrutiny. The challenge is learning how to distinguish between the two. The strange stone giant buried beneath a New York farm may have been fake, but the lessons it revealed are undeniably real. And perhaps that is the most surprising truth of all. The greatest mystery was never hidden beneath the ground. It was hidden within the minds of the people who looked at the giant and saw exactly what they wanted to see. The exposure of the Cardiff Giant should have ended the story. Newspapers published the truth. Investigators revealed the scheme. George Hull admitted his involvement. Experts demonstrated how the statue had been carved and artificially aged. By all logic, the mystery was solved. But something unexpected happened. Many people refused to believe it. Even after the evidence became public, visitors continued paying to see the giant. Some insisted that powerful organizations were hiding the truth. Others claimed the confession itself was fabricated. Rumors spread that government officials, scientists, and wealthy businessmen had joined together to suppress proof of an ancient civilization. What began as a simple hoax evolved into something much larger. It became one of America's earliest examples of a conspiracy theory. The year was 1870. Across the United States, stories about hidden civilizations, mysterious artifacts, and forgotten giants were becoming increasingly popular. Reports occasionally surfaced claiming that enormous skeletons had been discovered in caves, burial mounds, or remote wilderness areas. Most of these stories were poorly documented or completely false, yet they captured public imagination. People wanted mysteries, and mysteries sold newspapers. Editors understood this well. Sensational headlines attracted readers far more effectively than ordinary news. A story about a giant human skeleton could spread across dozens of newspapers within days. By the time investigators disproved the claim, thousands had already accepted it as fact. The Cardiff Giant was no longer just an object, it had become a symbol. Meanwhile, George Hull found himself both famous and infamous. Some admired his intelligence. Others viewed him as a fraud who had deliberately deceived the public. Yet Hall defended his actions. He argued that the giant exposed a dangerous weakness in society. People often accepted extraordinary stories without demanding evidence. Hall believed his experiment proved that belief could overpower reason. Many historians later agreed. Yet there was another strange chapter waiting to unfold. Years after the giant's exposure, researchers began examining ancient Native American burial mounds scattered throughout parts of the United States. These earthworks had been built by sophisticated indigenous cultures centuries before European settlers arrived. Some early investigators misunderstood what they found. Large burial sites occasionally contained unusually tall individuals. In an era lacking modern archaeological methods, exaggerated reports quickly emerged. A 6'6" skeleton might become a 7-foot giant in newspaper articles. A 7-foot skeleton could become 10 feet tall after being retold multiple times. The myths grew. Stories of lost races and giant civilizations became deeply embedded in American folklore. Even today, certain websites and conspiracy theorists continue promoting claims that giant skeletons have been discovered and hidden from the public. However, modern archaeology has found no credible evidence that a race of giant humans once inhabited North America. The persistence of these stories reveals something important about human psychology. People are naturally drawn to mysteries. A world filled with hidden secrets feels more exciting than one where every question has an ordinary answer. This attraction becomes even stronger when the mystery challenges established knowledge. The Cardiff Giant exploited exactly this tendency. Imagine standing in rural New York in 1869. You hear rumors that workers have uncovered a 10-foot stone giant buried underground. Newspapers report the discovery. Neighbors discussed it. Religious leaders debated its meaning. Scientists disagreed publicly. Thousands traveled to see it. Would you have questioned the story, or would you have believed it? That question remains surprisingly difficult to answer. History often encourages people to assume they would never be fooled by such a deception. Yet similar events occur repeatedly. In the early 20th century, photographs were manipulated to create fake evidence of supernatural phenomena. In later decades, forged documents influenced public opinion. In the digital age, artificial intelligence, edited videos, and fabricated stories can spread worldwide within hours. Technology changes. Human nature remains remarkably consistent. The Cardiff Giant's true significance lies not in the stone figure itself, but in what it revealed about society. It demonstrated how authority can influence belief. When respected individuals supported the giant, public confidence increased. It demonstrated the power of repetition. The more people heard about the discovery, the more credible it seemed. It demonstrated confirmation bias. Individuals tended to accept information that matched their existing beliefs while dismissing contradictory evidence. Most importantly, it showed that truth often struggles to compete with a compelling story. A giant buried beneath a farm is exciting. A carved statue created by a businessman is less exciting. As a result, many preferred the first explanation, even when the second was proven correct. Yet the story contains another lesson. Skepticism is valuable, but it must be applied consistently. Some people accepted the giant without evidence. Others rejected it immediately without investigation. The most reliable approach came from those who examined the facts carefully before reaching conclusions. Science ultimately solved the mystery, not through assumptions, but through evidence. Researchers studied the material. They analyzed the surface. They investigated its origins. They followed the facts wherever they led. That process exposed the deception. More than 150 years later, the Cardiff Giant remains one of the most famous artifacts in American history, not because it was genuine, but because it successfully fooled so many people. Visitors who see it today often experience mixed emotions. They laugh at the absurdity. They admire the craftsmanship. They marvel at the scale of the deception, and they wonder whether they themselves would have fallen for it. Perhaps the most unsettling answer is that many of us probably would have, because the real mystery was never buried in the ground. The real mystery is why human beings continue to search for extraordinary explanations, even when ordinary evidence is available. That question has haunted societies for centuries, and it remains unanswered to this day. Far beyond the fields of New York, deep within America's history, countless other mysteries wait to be explored. Stories of vanished settlements, unexplained disappearances, hidden treasures, and discoveries that still challenge investigators. Some are hoaxes, some are misunderstandings, and a few remain genuinely unsolved. One of those mysteries would emerge decades later, in the deserts of the American Southwest, where a strange discovery inside an abandoned canyon would spark rumors of a lost civilization, hidden chambers, and secrets that some claim were deliberately erased from history.